This is the Nations Conspire channel. Welcome to today's show. Pay attention to this video because if you're falling for this, then you will probably fall for anything. This is basic manipulation 101, and people need to be smarter than this. If you haven't heard the stories, what the government is doing is auditing all the government agencies, and they've started with the USAID, which is the United States Agency for International Development. And remember, they would never actually show you a real audit. Never before have we ever seen the government actually get audited. Should the government be audited? Absolutely. Should we believe what they're showing us? Absolutely not, because they're clearly showing us all of these things so that we react a certain way. And of course, that certain way is to refuse to pay taxes. And I'm not saying that any of us should be paying taxes. I'm not saying that this is even legal, the way that the tax system is set up. But what I'm telling you is that they're doing this deliberately. They're feeding you this information to get you to respond a certain way. And remember, this is everything and only everything to do with AI governance. That's what this is all about. This is the globalist plan being put in place, and they're making you want AI governance and the globalist infrastructure in place by showing you how disgusting, how incompetent, and how ridiculous our government spends our tax money. Fake USAID audits that only a sucker would believe. Because remember, where your money actually is going is towards trafficking. It's going towards building underground cities. There is an entire underground world underneath our feet that our tax money has helped fund. Our tax money gets laundered. We know that the biggest business in the world involves trafficking and involves young children. So what they're doing here is no different than what they did with that guy Jeffrey who had an island. The government is the one feeding you this information. And that's where people need to step back. And they need to say, wait a minute, all of a sudden the government cares about me. All of a sudden the government's giving me all this information. And that's what they've done by trying to build trust in Donald Trump and, of course, Elon Musk, by them saying and doing all the right things, by creating false flags with assassination attempts on Donald Trump, making it seem like this is what Trump was going to do all along and they wanted to stop it from happening. He's exposing the deep state. What they need to do and want to do is destroy the current government structure to bring in the new one. And they have to do it with your consent. So the way people are responding to this stuff is exactly the way they would expect you to respond, exactly the way that any sane person would respond, by thinking it's ridiculous, by considering the idea of not paying your taxes, which again, I'm not saying that you have to go and you should pay your taxes. I'm telling you what they're trying to do. And these stories I'm going to show you are absolutely they're so ridiculous that to believe them, you would have to be under hypnosis. Okay, here's one of the things. Sesame Street in Iraq. The USAID's wasteful and dangerous spending exposed by Elon Musk and Doge. Some of the other things that Elon Musk has tweeted out to work the conservatives, to get them angry and irritated, and to subliminally start to get them to want change, to want the walls to be torn down so that Elon and Trump can give you the solution. Again, AI governance, new infrastructure. And on top of that, the refusal of paying taxes. They've been telling you recently about how Elon Musk doesn't pay taxes, how Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes. That will be added to this because as America comes down to its knees, they're going to blame us. They're going to blame the people. And they're going to say the people stopped paying their taxes because of all this. And they all know, the people should know that there's not enough prisons to throw everybody in jail who doesn't pay their taxes. It's actually, most people don't even know, it's not even a crime not to pay your taxes. It's a crime, apparently, according to them, to not file your taxes. But they're going to blame it on you. They're trying to get you to do the things that they want you to do. So here's some of the other tweets before I show you what they're airing on the news. Why did the USAID give $68 million to the World Economic Forum, right? So conveniently, they're putting all these things out there that they know will work conservatives, right? Our government's funding the New World Order. They're trying to fund the World Economic Forum. Meanwhile, Elon Musk has tweeted out proudly reposted things where they're telling you that Elon Musk is the one who's going to bring in the fourth industrial revolution, which is the creation, the literal book written by Klaus Schwab. Donald Trump speaks at the World Economic Forum. They tell you at the World Economic Forum how proud they are of Trump and how they can't wait for him to appear there. But they all say, oh, he's against the deep state. He's just got to show face there, right? So all it takes is Musk to tweet out how much of our tax money is going to globalist initiatives, right? And to make people absolutely furious. Here's another one. Chelsea Clinton casually taking home $84 million. So they're releasing things that you would never, ever see unless they wanted you to see it. That's the point I'm trying to make. They wouldn't release it unless they wanted you to see it. And they don't want you to see it because they want you to know because they care about you. They want you to see it because they want you to react the way that you're reacting to it right now. By seeing that your tax money is going into the pocket of someone like Chelsea Clinton. Then showing you all these articles about how rich Chelsea Clinton is. The homes that Chelsea Clinton owns. And you say, wait, what does Chelsea Clinton even do for a living, right? Don't her parents, they're politicians. Don't they make $200,000 a year? That wouldn't be enough to give to their daughter to buy $1 million homes, right? Well, they want you to know that your money is funding Chelsea Clinton of all people. You know, the top family that conservatives hate the most, the Clinton family. So the responses out there are all these people, I want a refund. Give me my money back. Refund all our taxes. Tax season's right around the corner. I'm not going to pay my taxes this year. Thanks, Doge, for letting me know what my government is doing with my money. This is called sabotage. Here are some of the clips airing on TV. And of course, if you understand, if somebody was trying to manipulate you, these are the types of things they would show you. They would show you that you're barely getting by. You're going to the store looking at your bill and wondering why your grocery bill's twice the price. You're looking in your bank account, wishing you could go on vacation or do something more. Or you need a car, you need some appliance at your home that may have broken, and you can't get it, right? So then they show you this stuff deliberately. How your tax money is going to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia, right? Or DEI musicals in Ireland, electric vehicles for Vietnam, transgender operas in Colombia, Sesame Street in Iraq. Do you see how manipulation works? How do they expect you to respond to this? To demand change, of course, is how you're going to respond. And guess what? The change is what they want. They're making you feel this way so that you accept the AI governance infrastructure without realizing it's been the globalist plan all along. Look at what they're airing on the news. The constant theme here, change. We need change. The people demand change. Talking about how instead of helping the homeless, our veterans in America, we're giving it so people could have transgender surgeries in Timbuktu. All stories that they're putting out there by design. I'm not saying that your tax money isn't pissed away. I'm not saying that your tax money doesn't go into these politicians' pockets. What I'm saying is that they're telling you this now because they want change and they want you to go along for the ride. And it takes your compliance for them to bring about this change. And that's why they're working you into hysteria with all these ridiculous stories. This is what they're playing on the news. These are the politicians talking about it and working the conservative audience.
So here's some of the programs at USAID that the White House has got in sights. $1.5 million to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion in Serbia's workplace and business communities. $70,000 for production of a DEI musical in Ireland. $2.5 million for electric vehicles in Vietnam. $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia. $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru. It goes on and on and on.
We have seen money funded in the Wuhan Institute of Virology through dollars steered by USAID on dangerous coronaviruses. We saw how that turned out. We've seen funding going to Morocco for pottery classes, tourism in Lebanon, of all places, even when the State Department was advising against travel. I could go on and on and on. Elon Musk is spearheading the Department of Government Efficiency, and if it means ferreting out waste and fraud on behalf of Americans, then I think he is doing a great job. He is operating at the direction of the president, and what we have seen with USAID is just a blatant disregard for what Americans want to see and how they want their dollars spent around the globe. There are important projects. We acknowledge that. But we have to disrupt this system, ferret out the waste, and get back to what we should be doing. I do think we need change, and the American people spoke to that last November. And this is exactly what we are going to do. It is going to be a very aggressive movement on the part of Republicans, President Trump, and Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency. So the Democrats need to get used to this. We are going to find ways to focus our American taxpayer dollars on the things that they should be spent on, which is the American people and our interests. Again, we don't need to be wasting money on ridiculous items like seeing how fast shrimp can run on treadmills. I don't care about that. The American people, they don't care about that. So get ready for disruption. Get used to disruption. Let's get our federal government back on track and doing what we should be doing and not focusing on items of ridiculous ideology.
The big controversy, U.S. aid and the freezing of those funds. And Congressman, I think a lot of people are just deeply shocked at the level of spending here. We're talking about billions of dollars that looks like it was being squandered. Your reaction to the discoveries coming out of DOGE?
Well, when I found out that USAID was paying for Ukrainian models and designers to travel to New York City to attend the Paris and London fashion weeks and more, $20 million to create a Sesame Street show in Iraq, $2 million were spent for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala, and then millions of EcoHealth Alliance dollars, an organization involved in the coronavirus research at the Wuhan Institute of Lab, where we had the suspected COVID leak. I mean, this humiliates our country. Who do these people take us for? They have to think we're fools, that we're sending our money for a Sesame Street show in Iraq, that we're sending models to London and Paris. You know, the people in my home state of Nebraska, we work way too hard for our money to send it to Washington and then ship it out so that somebody can have a sex change in Guatemala. I mean, that makes no sense. And when you really look at this, what Elon Musk is doing, what the government is doing for the first time, is we are actually auditing where this money is going and who is using it.
We're spending all this money on transgender operas in Colombia and the transgender comic books in Peru. And I couldn't help but think about the thousands of military veterans who sometimes wait weeks and months to get medical treatment, the homeless veterans in our country. That money could be used to help our fellow Americans.
Well, think about this. Like, we're having bake sales and we're having radiothons to raise money to send little kids for cancer care to St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital in Memphis. And yet we're taking tax dollars for a sex change down in Guatemala. I mean, it makes no sense. The people of this country have far too long paid far too much and gotten so little in return. That's why this needs to happen. That's why this process is positive. That's why this sunshine on these issues will lead and affect change. And that's what people want.
That right there is manipulation 101. And how convenient all these stories that keep coming out, right? People think that they're diving deep into these files because Elon Musk made them available to the American public, right? Just like that island that everybody's staring at, instead of staring underground or staring at that pizza place. They're all staring at that island. Well, who gave you the flight logs? Who fed you the information? The government did. And that's exactly what they're doing here, because they're doing this by design. Specifically, let's start with Chelsea Clinton. $84 million. They show you this little graph of where the money's going. Arrow here, arrow there, right? All the way where? All right, to the Clinton Foundation, right? And we're supposed to believe that they're putting this out there. Why? Because they care about us, right? Here's another one that gave me a good laugh. As if people shouldn't have known this already. How do people don't know that our government works directly with Hollywood? But this is one that drove people nuts. The USAID paying Hollywood stars to travel to Ukraine to make Zelensky look good. Jean-Claude Van Damme, $1.5 million. Ben Stiller, $4 million. Sean Penn, $5 million. Orlando Bloom, $8 million. Angelina Jolie, $20 million to go and take pictures with Zelensky, right? These are the top issues that they know they could work people with. Ukraine and Zelensky with our tax money. Bring people like the Clintons into it. Bring the World Economic Forum into it. Now you've got people in a psychosis. Now you got people really, really angry, right? So then you say, well, what are they trying to do by showing us all of these graphs and all of these things? Well, they're trying to get you to do what they want. Because remember, if you stop paying your taxes, it's not really going to change the outcome of the world. But if they start telling you that you're responsible for America being destroyed because you're not paying your taxes and now we can't fund all these things that they don't really fund with our tax money. I mean, think about how much money you pay if you own a home in property tax or state tax. How many roads do you drive by and say, well, when are they going to fix this road? Years go by in lots of places and they don't fix the road. They tell you that the schools are low on money. You just go, what does my tax money go to? Well, it doesn't go to what you think it would go to. And I'm not saying that it doesn't go to ridiculous crap like this, but they're telling you it for a reason. And the other things that your tax money go to, they're never going to really tell you. They're never really going to tell you what's underneath your feet and how they're farming underneath us and they're sucking the carbon out of the air to farm underneath us and building these major cities underneath us that they're going to live in while they destroy the Earth's surface with weather manipulation and weather modification, right? So they're working people into demanding change, which is what they want. Do we want change? Should we want change? Of course we should want change. Of course the whole thing should be torn down. The problem is that it should be torn down and the people should be starting a revolution rising up. But what's happening is it's getting torn down by the same people who want to tear it down. So they're tearing it down and then showing you all this stuff as to why, and you're cheering it on. And then they're going to come right back in with the solution instead of the people coming up with the solution. And the solution is going to be AI governance, less human interaction. And you're going to agree with it because you're going to go, you know what? I don't want some Dem in power anymore. I don't want some blue-haired freak in power. I don't want some guy that's I don't trust him. I don't want him. I'd rather have the technology in charge. And the same with the Democrats. They're going to look and they're going to go, I don't want these white extremists in power or in control of this department in the government or that, right? And when we talk about taxes, look, at the end of the day, if you understand what they're doing, okay, these people out there just don't see what's coming with AI governance and the carbon footprint and everything else. Taxes will become obsolete. They will be, because there's going to be a universal basic income. Elon Musk has talked about it openly. He says it's going to be needed and necessary to survive. It's going to be needed because AI is going to take all jobs, right? So with a universal basic income, guess what? You won't have to worry about paying taxes. You'll go, yay, I don't have to pay taxes. That's not the tax they care about. The carbon tax is what they care about. So you won't have money deducted necessarily from your account because you'll be making universal basic income. You'll get an allowance. But there will be money deducted based on your behavior because the carbon tax is about behavioral control. Watching what you spend on. You're allowed to buy this. You're not allowed to buy that with your allowance. If you want that steak, then you don't eat for the rest of the month based on your carbon tax. You can only travel X amount of feet. You can only leave your home X amount of days. You can only use X amount of electricity. That's what the carbon tax is. That's what comes with universal basic income. That is prison for humanity, imprisoning them, imprisoning you. That's why all this smart stuff is getting put in your home. The smart tech, the smart meters. It's so that you're going to live like a prisoner when all this is put in place. So in the meantime, they're building the infrastructure in front of us and getting you on board with it by telling you, we got to change this. And you're going, yeah, we got to change it. I don't want to give money to Sean Penn to fly over with his Academy Award and stand next to Vladimir Zelensky or Ben Stiller. I don't want to give money to Sesame Street in Iraq. I mean, they're coming up with this stuff. You could see them laughing as they're writing these scripts out because that's what they do. They write the news. Just like Hollywood producers and Hollywood writers write scripts. That's what they do. They write this. And they go, well, let's think of the stuff we could do to get them most irate. Well, they just picked them right off the top, right? You got your celebrities in Ukraine. That drives people nuts. You got the Clintons getting your money. You got the World Economic Forum getting $20 million from your government while your veterans are homeless or can't afford certain care or treatment that they need, right? And I could just see them sitting there cracking up by writing hey, how about we just say we're going to do we're going to do LGBTQ musicals in Ireland, and we'll do Sesame Street in Iraq, and we'll tell them that $20 million of their money went towards it. Well, who in the world would want to pay their taxes after hearing that? But again, it's not about you actually paying or not. It's about you allowing the change that they want to be implemented, and nobody's seeing it because they can't look past these ridiculous stories. People are going to work 10 hours a day. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're struggling to put food on the table. So they hear this, their blood is boiling, right? And they're going, we're going to change this. We're doing this for you, right? Don't worry about you starting a revolution. You get to work. We'll take care of it for you. And you're going, yeah, do that. Get rid of these scumbags, right? And they're coming in with AI governance. And because you can't look past all of this nonsense that they're putting in front of you, you don't even realize that they're actually bringing in AI governance, which is what the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, the Builder, all of them have been planning for decades, waiting to be able to convince you. The last 4 years were so crucial in all of this. All the Democrats played the role, just like I talked about Joe Biden literally playing the character from Hot Shots, the president, bumbling around, falling upstairs, not being able to complete sentences, people at home pulling their hair out. And then they're having transgender parades and the White House lawn and talking about how they're going to get more transgender library readings in your public schools. And everyone's just losing it. And that's done by design. So that when they come in, they go, we're going to clean this out with a bulldozer. And you go, yeah, right? So for anybody out there listening and you're going, yeah, but this is what we need. This is what we want. This is what they want. The people are the ones and should be the ones who are starting the revolution. When Elon Musk is saying this is the revolution, everyone's cheering it on like a bunch of suckers. It's not a revolution. This is all planned by the Democrats and the Republicans. This is their plan. The people should have stopped this from happening. The second they went into Congress and were having debates in the Senate and the House about if men could have babies, the citizens should have went there and removed them from Congress. But a lot of people were probably afraid to, even if they thought that, because the government staged a January 6th psychological operation to subliminally make sure people never thought about ever doing that. That's why they did that, to make sure you never thought about going there and saying, hey, the Constitution says I could remove you from power because you're not working for us. And we all agree that this is absolute charade. You're talking about men having babies. None of us could afford rent this month or an electric bill. Bye. See you later, right? But instead, they staged that on the 6th day of January. And what comes out of it? Well, all these stories of all these people in jail for years and years and years. And people are going, why would they be in jail for years and years and years? Well, they're selling you that so that you never go and start a revolution against the nonsense that they're pulling. And now that's been ingrained in people, especially conservatives. So they think that this is coming in, all this stuff, the ridiculousness that's going on in Washington, and Trump and Musk are going to fix it. Yeah, they're going to fix it all right by bringing in the AI governance infrastructure right in front of your face. They have prevented an actual revolution from occurring by telling you, sit back and watch. Let the controlled Donald Trump and the controlled Elon Musk start the revolution for you. And the next thing you know, there'll be digital IDs, AI infrastructure, and a total control grid. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless all of you and your families as always.